So for the second part I chose one of the poppy drawings, and in particular this bit of the leaf here. I liked particularly this bit, and I'd also, when I was drawing it, I was trying to capture the way the leaf folded over. So I did some drawing in my sketchbook, and I kept drawing, just drawing the same bit over and over again, really, to see what would occur to me. And then I made some samples because I felt I needed to see what the fabric would do. So I started off with polycotton, and it was horrible. It wouldn't do what I wanted it to do at all, and I found it got bulky quite quickly. And the only thing I did quite like was how this went here, down here, but trying to get the curves and stuff, that just didn't work at all. So I had some muslin from something, I can't remember, so I had a go with that, and I found this worked much better because obviously being quite a loosely woven thing, it's much easier to get it to curve and to do what I wanted, really. So getting this bit here and here as well. So I was pleased with that. Then the next thing I wanted to do was see about sewing it to some sort of base. So I did the same kind of thing again, and I found that worked quite well, and I quite like this sort of contrast here and the way it's sort of, because it was a double thickness to start with. And then I tried again. I had some other fabric that didn't hold its shape quite as well as the polycotton, but this wasn't great either. I think this went better than the polycotton, but still not as good as the muslin. So although again there were bits I quite liked, how this bit turned out up here, and then the bit down here as well. And then the other thing I tried, because when I was drawing, one of the things is this bit on the leaf, this here, and when I was drawing in the sketchbook, that was one of the things. It made me think of contours on a map. So I wanted to see what I could do with layers of fabric and layers of stitching as well. So for the main pieces, this was the placement. I think my table's not quite big enough. I used a single thickness of muslin in the end. I felt kind of it was how big the fabric was that did affect how big the finished thing could be. But thinking about it now, I could perhaps have tried joining bits to make it bigger, because yeah, I could have done that, and I used a single thickness in the end, and I adopted a similar thing to what I'd done with one of the paper samples, in that I had folds and things, and I wanted to stitch along the folds. I was trying to get sort of smooth and flowing and like it is in the drawing, and I wanted that to be part of it as well, that I wasn't just stitching and it was all the stitches. I wanted the folds and the bit where it's a bit thicker, like round here, to be part of it as well. Out of the three, this is my favourite one. For the scale, I went with the squiggly lines, and I decided to use a sewing machine for this one because although I really enjoyed the hand stitching, I wanted to get something that was a bit freer. So when I started off, I was careful because I wanted to join the bits together and I didn't want unnecessary bumps and things. But then once I got going, I was deliberately much freer, and I used a longer stitch, and I wasn't guiding it quite so carefully, and I did end up with this kind of thing, which is what I was hoping would happen. I quite like this one as well. I like the different kinds of fabric and the layers. My original plan was to have, so this, which was obviously on a larger scale, was to then have like a tiny little leaf here, but I decided against doing that. I thought it was probably enough as it was, and I'd also originally planned to sew it to a base of some kind, but decided against that as well because I felt the kind of distinctness of this here would be lost if it was on something possibly. And the other thing is that I actually really like the back, and obviously if it was sewn down onto something you wouldn't be able to see the back. For the repeat, this did not turn out nearly as well, and I would say this is even bordering on a disaster. It's also really, really long. When I was drawing, one of the things I did in the sketchbook was to try flipping the leaf. So that's what I wanted to do. So I stuck with the muslin as that had worked quite well with the other things. And then from the previous two I had smaller bits of fabric left, so I joined them together and then sewed the muslin things on, and I really don't like it. I think those bits, I mean, I know it's supposed to be a repeat, but I think it's too samey, and I don't think they work very well with the base fabrics either. I was very aware after I'd sewn all those on that there were these kind of weird gaps in between. So what I did was I sewed on this bit of the leaf here and then carried on so it reflected the thing, and I don't know whether I'd perhaps need to sew on it more and that might make it better. I think perhaps it's one I need to come back to. I mean, some of the things work quite well. I like this. I quite like how this goes, but it really doesn't work as well as the others. So out of the three, my favourite one is definitely the placement one, because I kind of feel I managed to do what I wanted to do in terms of capturing the way the marks were and the way they were flowing.